Hey, what's up, guys? Nick from ArchCityPLO.com and Arch City Poker. It is March 20th, and I think the last couple videos we've done the poker facts the week of whatever that Monday was, but just going to say what the day is, I guess, for these continuing forward. Not as many questions this week. Some kind of bug in my way there, but not as many questions. So there was one from the comment section last week, and then looks like a couple more that from a long list that I've written down that I've been asked over the years. So question one, how to use equity calcs, like equity calculators, pieces of software, whether they are free or not, like Flopzilla. So this is a good question. And I think to keep it as simple as possible, a lot of players will use them and really try to focus on both their own range, like heroes range, and then their opponent, villains range, and they often make it a little bit too complicated. I think those calculators are best utilized to help you understand where you are at in your own range in each spot. So what I would suggest is if you have some hands written down that you were going to review, or the next time you go to play, which obviously right now with COVID, that's kind of tough for a lot of people, and I really don't think people should be playing poker together. But let's say you play online maybe, and you play a hand and you want to look at that spot, and you're concerned about where that hand fits in your range, how much equity you have against the estimated range of your opponent. I think that not only if you look at that hand, but if you look at categories of hands, all right? So start with what usually would be like a set as your top hand, and then work your way down the list. And any hand against your opponent's range that's generally 50% or better is going to be classified as a hand that could be value bet. Generally, if a hand falls between 40 and 60% equity, though, those are hands that are pretty good candidates for checks, whether you're checking from out of position, whether you check back in position. The reason for that is you probably do want to be a little more polarized. You don't want to bet so many of those hands in the middle of your range, because it's often not very efficient. You don't get a lot of better hands to fold. You don't often get worse hands to call. It just depends on your opponent in the player pool. But generally, go through each category of hand that you can think of and see where that fits in your range and what kind of equity that has, and that can help better construct your betting and checking ranges for you. So hopefully that made sense. Go ahead and ask me or any follow-up questions concerning that in the comment section, and I'll be glad to help. But let's move on to the second question. What do I do with gutters or gut shots? So I get asked this all the time, and obviously it depends on the situation, how both of your ranges interact with the flop texture. What I see from a general perspective is players are way too passive and weak with their gutters. They will do things like check call out of position with them. They think they're deceptive, so if they hit it, they'll get paid. That's true, but you don't hit it often enough to warrant usually just calling. The more playability, the more strength that you have with your gutter, the more often that you can sometimes just call with it. And that could be if you have two overcards with the gutter, with a backdoor flush draw, for example. That hand will be pushing more equity. That hand has a little bit more playability. So that could be one from a general perspective that you could possibly call with. But let's say you only have the gutter, maybe just one overcard, maybe no overcards, maybe you have no backdoor flush draw. Depending on how your ranges interact with the flop, if it's a flop texture that you feel like your opponent doesn't smash that often, then you probably should be playing your gutter a lot more aggressively. Check raise would be the better route. If he c-bets, raising with your gutter would be the better route. You just want to be a little more aggressive with these than what I see most players usually are. And again, keep in mind, it really does depend on how your ranges interact with the flop texture. If it's a texture that you believe your opponent's range should smash very hard, then you're not going to be doing a whole lot of raising with anything. So in that sense, you might be doing more calling with your gutters if you feel like it's a hand that has to fit into your calling range. But you could do just some pure folding with those as well. Again, though, just be a little more aggressive with them, especially when you feel like your opponent doesn't hit the flop that hard. Question 3, this is actually going to be the last question since there weren't as many this week. What are the best rooms to play in Las Vegas? So that's a good question. There are some people that haven't been out there before. I think the main ones are run pretty well. Bellagio, Aria, the Wynn. Those are all ones that I like to play in when I'm out there. There are a lot of grinders, a lot of regs in those rooms as well. So if you're looking to play anything above 1-2 or 1-3, you're usually going to run into a lot of those guys, and you might be better off playing at a place like Planet Hollywood, where there's going to be more action. There's going to be looser and weaker players overall. So it just kind of depends what you're looking for. The good thing about the Strip is that there are plenty of rooms to choose from, and obviously, again, right now, nobody's able to play, but hopefully soon we will be able to go ahead and play again. But yeah, if you're, and if you guys are looking to take like a poker trip at some point soon, Vegas isn't the first place that I actually would recommend. There's a lot better poker in places like Florida, Washington, D.C. I can't. There are others. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but Vegas is definitely not the first option for me if it's just a poker trip. If you're looking for more action, looser players or whatnot, then I would definitely choose another city. But Vegas is not a bad place. Obviously, you still can go and find plenty of rooms, and I'm sure find plenty of games that are good. So if there are any questions or comments as usual, go ahead and let me know in the comment section, and click on the link for archcityplo.com. Check out the site. Hit the subscribe button, the like button. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week for another edition of Poker Facts. Thanks.